Well, good morning, everyone. It's early August here in East Central Alabama, and I wanted to give you just a quick run-through update of the summer garden. This is the end of summer, and a lot of what we have done this summer has already been harvested. There's really not a lot left other than peppers, some winter squash, and some gourds that are still producing anything in the summer garden. We are 81 degrees this morning with a little light overcast sky. It's 93% humidity, so even though it's only 81 degrees, it feels like a sauna out here. This is a loofah gourd, and then these beds right here are sweet potatoes. So sweet potatoes typically harvested in fall. Here I tend to harvest them in late August, early September, just because they're usually ready at that point based on when I plant mine. So we'll be checking these probably in about 3 weeks to see if they're ready to go ahead and pull out. I have a lot of beds that had beans in them. We've already pretty much harvested everything off of those. Beans stop making pretty much once it gets super hot. So they do need to be planted earlier in the spring, where they're producing the bulk of what they're going to make in late June, early July. So these were all beds of different types of shell beans, green beans and lima beans. These bean plants on these trellises do have a few that can be picked. They are red, slippery silk beans. They just don't produce well where we are here. This is the second year I planted them, and the only reason I planted them this year was because I had some seeds left over from last year, and pretty much the same thing this year. I mean, it produced a few, but not enough that you could put anything up.
What's this?
That is turmeric. So we have turmeric and ginger in pretty much all of these buckets down through the middle. And as you can see, the summer garden is heavily grown over, so we've got lots of grass and stuff coming up here in our little walkways. That just happens this time of year. So what I'm out here doing today is actually a cleanup of the garden. A lot of these beds just need to be freshened up with some rabbit manure. We're going to pull out all these bean plants and probably compost them. You can feed them to your animals if you want to, but I think we're going to compost these. Got a few pepper plants here in this bed. The dogs have a nice little trail through the middle of those. These beds I cleaned out the other evening. They had cucumbers, zucchini that did not make because I planted it too late in the year. It was just too hot for it to produce. And then I think I had just some leftover Swiss chard and a bed that I really hadn't done much with. So those are cleaned out, and we're going to plant carrots in these. We're going to get them top dressed today with some rabbit manure and get carrots in here. So it's early August. It's the time of year you're going to start getting ready to plant your fall garden because your summer garden's pretty much done. And this is our back garden with the 3 long raised beds. We had tomatoes, tomatillos, and peppers in these beds. So the peppers are still going strong, and the peppers actually will continue to produce up until frost in this area. All of the tomato plants have pretty much died back. The tomatillo plants in this bed have died back. And then this is where we had our corn planted. So it's overrun with grass and weeds at this point. We harvested the corn in late June and just kind of left this area alone. We did pull out all the corn stalks and feed them to the cows. Got some sunflowers. We need to harvest the heads off of these at this point. They're dying back, and we'll get those sunflower seeds to feed to the chickens. This was a pepper bed. Negan ended up running most of these peppers over, and it's grown over with grass and weeds now. And then this was our other tomato bed. that, as you can see, all of the tomatoes are just dying back at this point. Now, we harvested probably, just estimating, over 100 gallons of tomatoes off of our beds. I canned tomatoes, tomato sauce, spaghetti sauce, ketchup, tomato soup. Up here behind the house, I do want to show you this overgrown flower bed, vegetable bed. These are gourds. They're birdhouse gourds. And I wanted to put up some bird's nests. We've got plenty of gourds to do that with. So this was just a little spaghetti squash plant. It was a volunteer. We've got sunflowers up here that need to be harvested. And then all these gourds that we'll leave on until the plants die back and they dry. Then you can put little holes in the front of them and paint them or do whatever you want for birdhouses. Martins particularly like to nest in gourds, and martins are great mosquito eaters, so it's good if you have them around. Again, our huge sunflowers that I need to chop the heads off of now. We do have some watermelon plants in here. I don't think they've really done much. I've seen a few watermelons in there. Some pretty zinnias around here for the pollinators. This is our strawberry bed, and as you can see, it is overrun with weeds. I haven't had time to mess with it since we were dealing with the summer garden. So this definitely has to be addressed probably early September. We'll get in here and clean this out, separate our plants, and get them reset for next year. Got a couple of eggplants back here, and as you can see, got some eggplants on there that I need to pick. Yeah, that's huge. Wow. And then here in our front flower bed, peppers are still going strong, and like I said, they will continue to produce until frost. We have a big delicata squash plant in here. A lot of cucumbers that have died back. I put up tons of pickles and relish as well, so at some point I was just overrun with vegetables and I couldn't keep up. So there's a lot of cucumbers that are just drying up and rotting out here. We'll let them compost back in. The herb garden has continued to do well all summer. We have lots of basil that's going to seed. That's fantastic, so it'll reseed itself. Plus we can keep some of the seeds for replanting when we need to. Oregano, sage. Got a little deal here that looks like it's gotten knocked over. And as usual, last but not least, out here on the patio, we've got our citrus trees, lime. We do have some olives. This olive tree has grown a lot this year. Olive, another lime. Over here we've got our mandarin, and these are just now starting to turn slightly orange. We've got our kiwi plants, and then we've got our lemon tree with lots of little lemons on it. All right, we're back out here in the garden. It's been a couple hours since I filmed the first part of this video, and what we did was come out here and clean out all these beds. And like I said, I have opted to compost all of my bean plants just because my cows have plenty of grass. They're not hurting for any food. If they were skinny and hungry, I would have fed the plants to them, but they're not. So we've piled up bean plants in several beds just to compost down. Got these all cleaned out. I did leave the beans that are on the trellis for now. Big pile here. And basically these beds where I've piled up these beans to compost, I'm just going to let them sit pretty much all fall, maybe into the winter. Sometimes it's good to just let your ground sit fallow, especially when you've used them back to back to back like we have. But this time of year, early August, in the southeast, is the time that you're going to start prepping your garden for fall vegetables. So carrots are really good to go in the ground this time of year. If you're going to plant some potatoes this time of year, all of your brassicas, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbages, things like that are good to get planted this time of year, and they'll be ready to harvest right before frost. So that's the plan. I will actually probably get out here tomorrow and start planting. The last thing I'm going to do today is top dress all of these open beds with very composted rabbit manure. So rabbit manure, when it's fresh, has a lot of the little pellets in it. This stuff has sat in the pens for months since we've cleaned it out, so it's broken down into just what looks like soil at this point. And that'll be great to top all these beds off with. So that's pretty much it for end of summer gardening. We'll bring you back probably the end of August and do a sweet potato harvest video and give you a little quick update on how the stuff that we get planted this weekend is doing in a few weeks. One other thing that I'll probably get updated in the next couple of weeks is a carrot planting video, because that's really important in the process of growing nice carrots, is getting them to germinate, and sometimes that can be a challenge, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a future video.